Humanity lives its usual measured life. Major political issues are being resolved at the White House, while beyond its walls, ordinary people make plans for tomorrow, unaware of the changes that await them. But a single morning changes everything. For unknown reasons, all carriers of the Y chromosome in the city suddenly die. In other words, all male beings, from animals and birds to men, perish. Among them is the president of the country. The only surviving males are a young, talentless illusionist named Yorick Brown and his pet capuchin monkey, Ampersand. In the event of an emergency, Regina Oliver was supposed to take over the presidency. However, at the time of the catastrophe, she was abroad, and there has been no word from her since. Naturally, the absence of leadership leads to dire consequences. Riots erupt in the city as women, panicking, begin to destroy everything around them, not knowing how to go on living. Tension rises within the White House as well. The staff realize that within 2 weeks they will be completely trapped. Coal and clean water supplies will run out. Food won't last long either. Animals can no longer reproduce, and growing enough reserves in a short time is simply impossible. And this doesn't affect just one city, it will impact everyone. Senator Jennifer Brown takes the reins of leadership. She is soon approached by Agent Sarah Bergen, a member of the president's secret task force, designated 355. Sarah reports that she was sent here due to some real threat, but didn't have time to receive detailed instructions about her new mission. During all this time, Yorick stays in his apartment to avoid becoming a target for desperate women. However, as supplies start to dwindle, he decides to leave a note for his girlfriend and venture out to scout the situation. At the same time, Senator Brown sends Sarah on a mission to find her daughter, Hero, who has not made contact since the disaster. But Hero isn't rushing to hide in a safe place. Instead, she travels to a refugee center to help those in need, including the wife of her deceased lover. After that, Hero returns to the hideout where her friends are gathered. At first glance, it seems there are still some surviving men in the city, but it quickly becomes clear that these men were born in female bodies and have transitioned through hormone therapy. Therefore, the mysterious plague had no effect on them. In New York City, evacuation begins, and heavy military vehicles patrol the streets. Yorick has to hide to avoid being caught by the military. Still, he manages to sneak into a local bar to leave another message for his girlfriend. Yorick continues to hope that she is alive, and that upon seeing his autograph, she might return home. Usually, Yorick manages to stay under the radar, but this time things don't go according to plan. His capuchin escapes, forcing Yorick to chase after him. The restless Ampersand descends into the flooded subway and disappears into the dirty water filled with the corpses of the dead. Fighting his disgust, Yorick decides to follow, unwilling to lose his only friend. At one point, Yorick thinks he sees another living man nearby, but it appears to be just a vision. Shining his flashlight around, he sees nothing but dirty water. After climbing out of the water, Yorick sneaks into a clothing store to change. However, he fails to stay hidden. The shopkeepers spot the naked visitor and freeze in shock. One of the women suggests capturing the guy and handing him over to the authorities for a nice reward, but ultimately, taking pity on him, they let Yorick go, giving him a set of clean clothes. The stress Yorick has endured nearly drives him insane. Looking through the videos on his phone, he recalls the day Ampersand came into his life, and hearing his friend's voice, the little monkey emerges from his hiding spot. The duo returns home, feeling safe there, but when Yorick hears the door opening, he realizes he was wrong. Someone has broken into the apartment and he'll have to defend himself. Arming himself with a guitar, he hides behind the corner, but he doesn't get a chance to strike. Sarah proves faster and stronger. She disarms Yorick and after a few hours delivers him to his mother, Senator Brown. The pilots who brought Yorick to the White House are locked away. Sarah explains that they need to rest after a long flight, but everyone understands the real reason. No one must find out that the new president's son has survived. Otherwise, suspicions of conspiracy could arise and lead to even greater chaos. Yorick himself is not thrilled about the situation either. After getting some rest from everything he has been through, he decides to look around, but his curiosity almost leads to disaster. In an abandoned office, he is discovered by Marla, the widow of the deceased president. Jennifer and Sarah arrive just in time and manage to make it seem like Marla is suffering from a mental breakdown. Meanwhile, Yorick manages to hide, but the threat hanging over the conspirators grows, and Sarah insists that the boy must be taken out of the White House. The late president's daughter tries to find out exactly what her mother saw that night. Jennifer assures the girl that it was nothing but a hallucination, but Kimberly suspects that President Brown is lying to her. Jennifer Brown instructs her aides to find a geneticist who can examine Yorick and figure out what happened on the planet and why he and the capuchin survived. The president plans to bring specialists to the White House, but Sarah remains firm. It's too dangerous, and they must get Yorick out of the city. The agent is ready to take on this risky mission, but it must be done as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, in Israel, a wounded woman regains consciousness. Upon learning that all the men on Earth have died, she declares that she must now claim the presidency of the United States. Nora Brady, a former presidential advisor, is forced to wander with her young daughter, Mackenzie. Having lost her husband and sons and left without any means to survive, Nora struggles to pull herself together, but ultimately decides to fight to save herself and her daughter. News reaches the White House that Regina Oliver, the main candidate for the presidency, is alive. This leads to a split among the staff. One part remains loyal to Jennifer Brown, while the other sides with Regina Oliver and Kimberly, the president's daughter. Given the situation, Jennifer has no choice but to agree with Sarah and allow her son to be moved to a safer location. Sarah enlists the pilots who had previously transported Yorick, motivating them by awarding hero stars and promising eternal glory if they succeed in their mission. The only way to secretly get Yorick out of the building is in a cart with dead bodies. The boy tries to refuse and come up with another plan, but Sarah remains adamant. They cannot afford to take risks, and Yorick will have to endure it. The agent successfully smuggles Yorick out and transfers him to a helicopter. She intends to pilot it herself. A second helicopter, carrying only female pilots, will fly ahead as a diversion. However, as soon as the helicopters reach a certain altitude and disappear from view, the escort helicopter loses control and explodes into a shower of burning debris. The sight horrifies Yorick, but Sarah remains calm, knowing this was the price of the pilot's silence. After several hours of flight, Sarah and Yorick land in a forest to take a short break. The agent, unable to bear the smell, asks the boy to undress. After riding in the cart with the corpses, he smells terrible, and it would be better to wash his clothes before continuing their journey. Meanwhile, Yorick's sister, Hero, sets out to find a safe place, accompanied by her friend, a trans man. Along the way, they stop at a looted store, hoping to find some food, but instead they encounter the frightened Nora and Mackenzie. Examining the girl's leg, Hero notices a serious infected wound and asks Nora to allow her to provide first aid so that they can continue moving. Back in the forest, Sarah and Yorick's camp is attacked by a gang of wild looters. Sarah tries to distract them and talk them down, but to avoid any risk, Yorick puts on a mask and waves a stick to scare the girls away, fearing that they might ruin their plan. The unexpected guests leave, but Sarah and Yorick decide not to stay put. They make their way to the nearest town, where they trade a helicopter generator and a couple of grenades for a motorcycle. While Sarah inspects and checks the motorcycle, Yorick, forgetting all safety rules, runs off to a deserted spot, convinced that he saw his girlfriend Beth in the crowd. This foolish act lands him in a trap. He is surrounded by female police officers who tear off his mask and discover his secret. Sarah has to intervene to protect her companion. Fighting off the officers, she manages to drag Yorick away, but as soon as they get a free moment, Sarah stops the bike to bring the loser back to his senses and remind him how important the mission is, a mission he had just nearly sabotaged. Meanwhile, Hero, her friend, and their new companions find shelter for the night in an abandoned women's shelter. Hero confides in Nora that her daughter has serious medical problems. She needs antibiotics, but pharmacies have long been looted, along with the empty houses. Stricken by fear and helplessness, Nora steps outside so that her daughter doesn't see her tears. But outside, she faces a new trial. Horsewomen appear in the courtyard, claiming to be the rightful owners of the house, and they don't seem too happy about uninvited guests. The rest of the visitors are quickly discovered by the horsewomen as well. They are herded into the stables to get rid of extra mouths to feed. However, Nora notices something that might save them. One of the horsewomen turns out to be wounded, and Nora asks Hero to examine the girl and provide help. Hero tries her best, but the gunshot wound is too severe, and there's nothing available but duct tape and a couple of rubber gloves. Hours of makeshift surgery don't bring any improvement. The girl's condition worsens, and the leader of the women's gang, Roxanne, decides to end her suffering. To Nora's surprise, Roxanne proves to be kind and understanding. She invites the guests to stay in their house for the night and promises to provide the antibiotics needed for Mackenzie. As the group follows Roxanne, Hero realizes that antibiotics are just a small part of what the gang controls. They own an entire shopping mall stocked with supplies. Meanwhile, Sarah and Yorick continue making their way toward Boston, hoping to find geneticist Allison Mann, but at the city's entrance, they encounter a military checkpoint, heavily guarded and armed with tear gas. Sarah proposes that they split up. She will distract the soldiers while Yorick and Ampersand sneak around the blockade. Meeting Boston's colleagues, Sarah quickly realizes that the absence of men hasn't rid the world of crime. Rebel groups constantly attack Harvard, trying to break in and find answers to their questions. The plan works. While Sarah keeps the soldiers busy, Yorick slips into a headquarters building to hide. However, there he falls into the hands of rebels, risking exposure. Luckily for him, the rebels mistake him for a trans man and let him go. even telling him where he can find his people, get the necessary hormones, and hide. At last, Yorick and Sarah locate Allison Mann's apartment and then her office at Harvard. The geneticist is not very pleased to see strange visitors, but the moment Yorick removes his mask, she immediately understands why they are there. Mann realized she must study the boy in his capuchin, but it's impossible to work at Harvard. There's no equipment or biological samples left. Therefore, she suggests the only possible option, traveling to San Francisco to use the lab there. Sarah agrees to yet another dangerous journey, but secretly sabotages their radio, cutting off their only way of contacting the president. She later uses the radio's malfunction as an excuse to leave, asking Yorick to watch over the geneticists while she finds another way to communicate with the White House. Meanwhile, political infighting over power resumes, but not everyone is focused on that. One of Jennifer Brown's aides, Christine, falls ill and fears she has lost her baby. However, an ultrasound reveals the opposite. The pregnancy is progressing, and it's quite possible the child is a boy. Sarah breaks into a stranger's house, only to find that the homeowner is just as skilled and dangerous as the secret agent herself. A fight breaks out between the two women, but once they allow each other to speak, it turns out that both intruders work for the same organization and came here for the same reason: to find the homeowner and put a bullet in her. After learning about the helicopter crash, Jennifer is beside herself with worry, but Christine tries to calm her down. The search team reported that they found the bodies of only 2 pilots. The relief doesn't last long. The president realizes that Sarah most likely staged the crash to eliminate unnecessary witnesses. A terrible thought strikes her. Yorick is in the company of a dangerous criminal, and there's no telling what Sarah might do to him. Regina Oliver, the main contender for the presidency, is brought to the White House. Taking advantage of this, Kimberly starts plotting a coup to get rid of the hated Jennifer Brown and eventually seize power herself. Meanwhile, Allison Mann confesses to Yorick that she isn't confident about the success of her research. She doesn't know if they'll have the resources to find out why the men died or whether it will even be possible to revive the male species. One thing is certain: hard times lie ahead for both Yorick and his capuchin. Soon they will become experimental subjects. Sarah returns to the office and proposes that they set off. For some reason, she lies to Yorick, claiming that she spoke to his mother and that they now have permission to travel to San Francisco. The trio sets off on their journey, unaware that a military patrol is already circulating around the city with Sarah's photo. While the women wait for a safe window between the gas deployments, Yorick decides to visit the place the rebels had told him about, a community of transgender people where he can remove his mask and show his real face without fear. Sarah flies into a rage over Yorick's latest stunt, but it soon becomes clear that the real threat isn't him, it's her. The patrol arrives at the community and shows everyone her picture. The trio manages to escape from under the hunters' noses and hides in a church, where Sarah is forced to admit that she has no communication with the White House and has been making all decisions on her own. Meanwhile, Hero, her friend, and Nora with her daughter continue to live in Roxanne's commune. At first glance, it seems they found a true paradise. There's food, medicine, and safety. But when Nora tries to take her daughter away from another radical feminist meeting, Roxanne explodes with rage. She reminds them that they are guests and must follow her rules and obediently listen to everything she says. Moreover, Roxanne does everything she can to make young Mackenzie hate men and join their movement. Another such meeting is interrupted by a battle alarm. The women quickly set up barricades and arm themselves to defend their supermarket. The enemies turn out to be a small group of desperate women with a little girl. Roxanne goes out to meet them, but she no longer accepts outsiders into her commune. Not even a child evokes her sympathy, and she drives the refugees away, refusing to help. Meanwhile, Allison finds a flyer among Sarah's things. It's a wanted notice for the agent. She suggests that Yorick should run away to avoid being endangered by Sarah, but the boy refuses to betray his friend, even though he knows she is hiding something from them. That evening, Roxanne gathers her commune for some kind of celebratory event.